Hey, Slater Crusaders, welcome to our special Brainwashed Marxism in School. I think the importance of this topic, I don't know how much we need to belabor this point. I think it's arguably the single most important thing is the education of our children and grandchildren. I like this line here. This is from Mike Naina, who's been diving pretty deep into this whole woke progressive cult thing. He says, Marxist revolutionaries believe that power is tied up in wealth, and so they set out to seize the means of economic production. The new left fundamentalists, the woke today, believe power is tied up in discourse. And so they've set out to seize the means of cultural production. That's education, media, art, and religion. And we see it everywhere. Flip it around. Think of, is there any pop culture aspect of society, like the institutions of America, K through 12, higher education, entertainment, Hollywood, media, like law school, Silicon Valley, what else is there? The left, they have complete control over all of it. The church, maybe you could argue, is like a thing that's still conservative, but that's not even true. And even that's under attack from the inside and like blatantly. This last weekend, there was a statue of Mary that was lit on fire outside of a church in Boston. The San Gabriel Mission Church in Los Angeles was burned to the ground. It's 249 years old. And the reason it was burned, and I haven't gotten the latest on whether it was arson or not, although it's had a pretty good track record for 249 years. And this weekend, but it was started by Junipero Serra, who's a white colonizing blah, 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 blah. Right? So very likely it was arson. Imperialist is the word I was looking for. He's a colonizing imperialist. So churches are under attack, literally and from within, which is something that we'll talk about another day. There's so many woke churches, or I should say churches churches that have been tricked, I should say, into the woke cult's messaging of diversity, inclusion, and equity, with church leaders not really knowing that how against the gospel these things really are as they've been redefined by the postmodernists. Anyway, the left, they can't completely seize economic control of production, so they're seizing cultural and every cultural means of production. That's education, art, and religion. So we're going to focus on education today. And we're also going to focus on how to fight back. What's the alternative, right? And that's the approach that we're going to start pivoting on my show. And for weeks now, we've been talking about all these philosophers and philosophies that are so broken and absurd and terrible and dangerous, and how it's gotten us to where we are today in very not good ways. And I've gotten depressed about it. So we're going to start to pivot and sprinkle in some more of, okay, well, who are we really? What have we been? What do we need to get back to? What's the alternative? And we're going to do that with education too. We're not just going to spend the whole time talking about how Marxism has infused every aspect of our K through 12 education system, although it has. We also need to know, where's the light? How do we get out? So we're going to end the special with talking to a leader of a classical school here in San Diego, where I live. My kids are 5 months, 2 and 3. So I still got a little ways here. But I cannot wait to send my kids to this school. It's called the Cambridge Academy. It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. It's K through 12. There's classical schools all over the country too. So, I mean, this one's wonderful, but there's amazing classical schools all over the country. There's one near you. And I didn't even know they existed until like a year ago. And their driving mission statement is think well, live rightly, and live wisely. So it's all about forming the whole student, right? Mind, heart, and character. Because we have to have virtue to live in a free country. So I just want to share a couple quotes here from our racist founders. Start with George Washington, the worst of them all. He said, virtue or morality is a necessary spring of popular government. Human rights can only be assured among a virtuous people. James Madison, to suppose that any form of government will secure liberty or happiness without any virtue of the people is a chimerical idea. So a chimerical means imaginary. So a chimera is half lion, half goat with a serpent's tail. Okay, so like absurd. Like imagine a half lion, half goat, and a serpent's tail. That's the most ridiculous imaginary character you could possibly fathom. And that's how absurd it is to be able to live in a free country without a virtuous people. It's that absurd.
Wow. That was deep and insightful. I want more of that. Like,
Subscribe. Get more.